William, please do. Thank you.
Yes. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, deep, profound, subtle, wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million eons is difficult to encounter. Now that I've come to receive and hold it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning.
That's very good. Okay. So we done with the 18 kind of long view, and now we learn about the 44 kind of long view regarding the future. And last time we learned about the 19 and 20, I think. Let's move on. Oh no, last time we done 19 and 34. They all the way to 34. So okay, let's quickly review this. I think it's good for you to understand as well. Okay, William, go ahead and read from here to here, and I will be explaining it so you understand.
There are monks, some ascetics and Brahmins who proclaim a doctrine of conscious post-mortem survival and do so in 16 different ways. On what basis? Wrong views number 19 through 34. They declare that the self after death is healthy and conscious and material, immaterial, both material and immaterial, neither material nor immaterial, finite, infinite, both, neither, of uniform perception, of varied perception, of limited perception, of unlimited perception, wholly happy, wholly miserable, both, neither.
So, so you understand what does it mean?
Some of them make sense. Material makes sense, immaterial, and then both material and immaterial makes sense. Neither material nor immaterial is a little confusing. Finite and infinite make sense, both make sense. Neither, a little confusing. Uniform perception, not sure about that, or the varied perception, or limited or unlimited. I get wholly happy, wholly miserable, both or neither. I get those.
Okay, can you go ahead and read it, and then we will go through each one. Okay.
These are the 16 ways in which these ascetics and Brahmins proclaim a doctrine of conscious post-mortem survival. There is no other way. This monks the Tathagata understands. These monks are those other matters, profound, hard to see, which the Tathagata, having realized by his own super knowledge, proclaims, and about which those who would truthfully praise the Tathagata would rightly speak.
Okay. So do you know what the difference between this one right here and the rest 18? The 16 view, the first 16 view. What the difference?
The first ones are looking at what happens before this lifetime. This is looking at what happens after death.
So, but the first one is through their meditation, right?
Say that again, please.
The first one is, the first 16 or 18, usually they through their meditation, right? But do you think this one is through their meditation?
Well, they're not remembering, they could remember, right? Maybe they could remember a previous death and what happened afterwards. So possible that it could be through their meditation. But by the way you ask the question, it sounds like It's not through their meditation.
Remember, this is we're talking about regarding our future,
Hmm.
regarding the future, not regarding the past.
But like if they remember a death and what happened after a death, couldn't they then reason that that would be what would happen after another death?
I don't think so, but think about this. I don't know that even though for the ascetic, right, for the non-Buddhists, even though they reach the highest meditation, but yes, they can be able to recollect, to recall the past life. I don't think they'll be able to know anything about the future.
Mm.
But only for the Arahat or above they do. The Arahat be able to recall the 80,000 kapas in the past and also 80,000 kapas in the future to the wisdom. Mhm. Of course, the Buddha no limit, right? Okay. And in here, in here, I think the first thing is to go in the doctrine of conscience, right? Doctrine of conscience. What does that mean to us?
That there is that there's awareness after death, that the awareness that we experience now is maintained, that we're conscious of what happens after death.
Well, concept, but to me, this is more like a perception. That means they uh, they uh, they assume, they predict, or something like that, but they not actually have any kind of experience. Think about it. Look at this. They declare that the cell after death is healthy and consonant and material. Do you know what does that mean?
Yeah, that it has a sort of physical substance to it.
Mm-hmm. The cell, they have physical, right? Physical cell, right? That's what it means.
Yeah.
Is that our reasonable? Is that our correct view?
It doesn't, because how nothing leaves the body, no physicality leaves the body. If it was physical, we would see it. There would be some way to measure it or to find it. And if something in the body left that wasn't physical and then went into something else physical, well, then that would be a different thing altogether.
Well, look at this. Last time I had friend to tell me, you see this on this eight consonant, right? And the eight consonant come from the five aggregate, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That means the form, the feeling, the perception, the mental formation and concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think, do you see that all these eight here, they well connected? We call the stream of consciousness.
Okay.
Do you know what does that mean?
We we have a meaning of stream of consciousness in like kind of Western common terminology, but you're using it to describe how the eight consciousnesses are connected together.
Yeah, but in here, do you see anywhere in here that the consciousness is represent the material?
I see places where the consciousness depends upon material,
Yeah,
like all the sense consciousness and the mind consciousness require the body. in order to be existent.
Right? They depend on it, but it doesn't mean that they are those things. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Do you know the robot, right? The robot. It's just the piece of steel, the piece of iron. But if we do not put the chip with the program in it, do you think that the robot can be able to move?
Oh, of course not.
Okay. So if we put the chip with the program in it, and the robot become function. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what make it function?
Everything coming together, but very essential in that would be the programming, the power source as well.
Mm-hmm. And so the programming, do we see the programming physically?
No, not directly, unless
We,
someone were to like take the chip out and hook it up to a computer and look at the programming, but no, we don't see it when
the program embedded into the chip. Remember, the program, we call the program embedded into the chip. The chip itself is not the program, but the program is embedded into the chip, and that's why when we plug in the chip, the metal, the piece of metal become working function. So if we look at those programming, it's just like the source of consciousness or the source of energy. Consciousness is just in Western world is similar to the energy or the quantum physics. Does that make sense? This is important. Yes, consciousness rely on the physical form to exist. But the consciousness is not the physical. Period. So that means the flow, the stream of consciousness, it means the flow of consciousness. They take the information from the outside world, from the first five consciousness, right? From the first five faculty, and and those become the consciousness, and those information is flowing among all this age and go into the alaya consciousness. You call the store consciousness, the storehouse consciousness. And from the alaya, the storehouse consciousness, they also have all kind of the criteria in there. It trigger the stream of consciousness. It also flow out and flow in. You see that? They keep flowing. Do you see anywhere it's physical? No. Do you see anything is with the beginning and with the ending? No beginning, no ending. And when this consonant inside the alaya consonant become the power, we call the power of karma. Basically, also the stream of consciousness. It's nothing else. Does it make sense so far? So when we die, that alaya left the body, right? And it will transform into another form. They keep moving from one life to the other. Those stream consonant is continuously. It never stops. How about this? When the one who get enlightened, like the Arhat or the Buddha, why they be able to see the past life, even the future? Oh, let's say about the past life, how they be able, the Buddha in the sutra, in the Lotus Sutra, be able to see the countless life in the past, just like the ball on the hand of the Buddha.
Is it because the mind consciousness and the manas consciousness are no longer obscured? So it's the mind consciousness isn't obscured by compulsive thinking, and the manas consciousness is not obscured by the emotional affliction, the self-delusion, and so forth, so that the alaya consciousness is just, it's clear to be perceived.
Let me give you, okay. If we record it, right? We record a video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that next 10 years, we still be able to hear this one, right? We play and we can hear the same thing. Even though after we pass away, the people cannot be able to hear our voice as well, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, think about this. All the stream consciousness is flowing. It will lead the footprint we call the imprint in the empty space. Does that make sense? Nothing get lost in this universe. So it doesn't matter how many lifetimes we pass through. The stream consciousness is continuously, right? From one life to the other. But those information we already passed through, those still in there, in the air, in the space. When the one who enlightened may be able to say back their own life, or even other people's life, even the living being life, because due to the imprint of the consciousness. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah, Mofak, yes.
I just found out this thing. I realized this is the way we should think in this way. Because no book say this thing. Not even inside the sutra. But if we use the technology, we use the science nowadays, we can realize and we can contemplate and we can connect. Tammy, do you understand so far, Tammy?
Yes.
That's important. That's important. And the only one who have the pure mind be able to see it. But we have a cloudy mind, we see nothing. We only see current consciousness, nothing else. This is a very powerful principle. That's why when the enlightened one, if you ask them to explain the state of the mind, do you think they can be able to explain?
Of enlightenment?
Yeah.
Not to one who's not enlightened, and to one who is enlightened, they don't need to explain it.
So even though they going to explain to us, can they be able to explain into detail?
Not in a way that we could fully understand it.
Because those things is we not yet experience, even though they tell us, we have no way to understand it. We have no way to experience.
I've heard it likened to someone trying to explain how a fruit tastes like a strawberry to someone who's
Right.
had berries.
Right. Because we haven't tasted yet, right? And we cannot explain the taste of whatever the fruit we are trying to do. But anyway, so this is important, right? So at least from here we understand that, well, the cell, basically the consonant is it's not a material. And what about immaterial? Can you say it is immaterial? The self is immaterial.
It's because they're talking about the existence of the self as because we talk about the alaya consciousness,
Mhm.
and that's what carries on and seeds the reincarnation.
Right.
And that is not material, but I mean it's a consciousness. So like what exactly is consciousness as far as relative to material or immaterial? I'm not sure how we classify that.
Okay, think about this. When the people declare the self, it means they are true self. But in Buddhism, is there anything we call the true self?
No, I mean, other than the Buddha nature.
The Buddha nature we do not call self, but it's just the nature itself. Okay, so in Buddhism, all phenomena or all dharma have no self. If we holding the self, either material or immaterial, because those things always change. It's impermanent. So which one is the self? Which in here, which in mere immaterial is the self? Because it keeps changing. Does it make sense?
Yes. Yeah. If we're, because that's the difference between, because they're talking about survival of the self after death, and we're not talking about survival of the self. We're talking about the seeds of karma carrying forward, and kind of a phenomena that doesn't really represent, the alaya doesn't represent a self.
Because impermanent, everything is changing. Even the alaya constant always change. They constantly change because we input and we output, right? They keep changing. So which one is the self? So therefore, all phenomena is no self. Therefore, all phenomena is impermanent, and therefore it's no self. And due to no self, it means emptiness. Does it make sense?
Yes.
This is important. And no other religion can be able to say this. Without the Buddha teaching, nothing can be able to work. Okay. Anyway, so that's why I want to make sure, okay, so you understand correctly. What about both material and immaterial?
Well, it would seem that any of these could be discarded by the recognition of no self.
Right, that's correct.
Whatever is said about the self surviving, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay, neither, no, it's also, because when we have any kind of notion, right? It's already violate the no self. Okay. What about finite and infinite? Finite or infinite?
And that would be the same thing, because there would have to be a self in order for it to be finite or infinite.
So because the self is based on this thing, it doesn't matter what kind of they base. It's already because they keep changing, and and those that means it's already so both it doesn't apply. Neither also doesn't apply, and uniform perception. Why the perception is considered in here?
That I'm not entirely sure what's meant by uniform perception or varied perception, or limited or unlimited. I'm not sure what they're trying to denote there.
I think if they call it uniform perception, that means it's It's a constant perception, I guess. It's no change. That means the perception is always stay the same. But remember, what is the meaning of the perception?
I mean, the perception is how a situation looks to us. It's not how it actually is, but it's like how we personally perceive it and what it means to us.
But the thing the thing we perceive, it's always permanent.
It's never permanent.
Okay.
No.
Therefore, it's the self based on this thing. That means it's not the right view. It's not the right view. Okay? And doesn't matter. This is even worse, right? Very perception even worse, right?
Would that be like here while we're alive, we go to sleep? And so when we're asleep, we're not perceiving the same as when we're awake. So would that be an example of varied perception?
I guess so. Maybe because sometimes on this depend on what kind of background we have, we perceive things different, and later on we have a different background, we perceive things even different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those things is unstable because it keep changing. So why cell it's based on this, right? So it doesn't work. The same thing with the limited. When we see the perception, it doesn't matter limited or unlimited, because those things keep changing. Then therefore, cell doesn't apply in here. Fully happy, miserable. This is the feeling. How could the feeling is the self? Because feeling is come and go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good friend. He very good at the meditation. He said this thing to me. When the people practice the meditation, the feeling arrive, either good or bad, happy or sad. They let go. What about so that they become what do they become? They become neither happy nor sad. Is that a good one?
I think so. I think being balanced between the two of being neutral. I mean, it depends how we define happy, because there's like sometimes happy is used kind of like I think the Sanskrit or Pali word is sukha, which is like a particular form of like transcendent happiness versus happiness from things, like happiness from a pleasurable experience. So if I'm happy because my body feels really good and everything's really smooth, but then I'm unhappy if that stops, well then that would be a sort of relative happiness that would really just would tie me into suffering, because if I'm happy because of something that's impermanent, then later I'll suffer because I'm dependent upon the situation for that state. So I would say a state that's indifferent to what's occurring in the mind, in the sense of not attached to pleasure or averse to discomfort, then that would be a good thing.
You think it's a good thing? When we let go of the happy feeling, and we also let go of the sad feeling. So this kind of thing is can it that compared to the wood or the rock? Because the rock have no feeling.
But we can still be mindful of the feeling that's present. So we can be mindful of there being a feeling, but without without clinging to it or identifying with it.
Okay, that's important, right? That the key here is the mindfulness. If we do not mindful, right, we become just like rock or tree, and that's not what we want, right?
No, no.
So that's the difference. So if we be mindful, and we that's how we be able to later on, if you see someone suffering, you will be able to have the compassionate for them. We be able to sympathy for them. Otherwise, the person who have neither happy nor sadness, this is dangerous. Without mindfulness, it's so dangerous. This is not what we want to in this state. Okay? Tammy, you understand so far, Tammy?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, all right. We do the next one, Tammy. You do the next one for me, please.
I can't do it right now.
Oh, you cannot read right now because you're kid. All right, and Jimmy.
Dạ mô Phật bà thầy, con chưa thấy gì hết ạ.
Anh chưa thấy gì hả?
Ok, dạ con đọc từ đâu ạ? Where do you want me to start, please?
I think it's
Okay, dạ mô Phật. There are monks, some ascetics, and Brahmins who proclaim a doctrine of unconscious postmodern survival. They do so in 8 ways. On what basis? Wrong view number 35 to 42. They declare that the self after death is healthy and unconsciousness, and material, immaterial, both, neither, finite, infinite, both, neither. These are the 8 ways in which these ascetics and Brahmins proclaim a doctrine of unconscious post-modern survival. There is no other way.
good. So, do you understand, Jimmy?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Because
so
of the unchanged, and then life is impermanent.
okay. So they declare that self after death is healthy and unconsciousness. This is a little bit different from the above. Above it's a consciousness. This is a unconsciousness.
Yes, unconscious. Yes,
Uh,
which is the opposite of the above statement.
right. Material.
Continue. Yeah, move on. Continue.
No. I think it's good. We can discuss right here.
Okay.
Okay, we can discuss right here. So when the cell, right, it's a healthy and unconscious and material, why it's not the right view?
Because life is impermanent, and then we cannot look at perception like that. Thing is changing every moment.
And can we be able to give some kind of example for the thing we call the unconsciousness?
Like, at this moment, situation is very hot, and the next 15 or 30 minutes it changed because nobody mentioned that again.
Oh, okay, that's good. What about the people in the coma state? They are unconscious, right?
Yes.
And they are material because the body is still there, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
William, what do you think, William?
Yeah, I think again from the beginning, it's we could take all of these, since they're talking about the self, and we could refute all of them just based on the existence of self.
Mm.
But if we were to set aside the idea of self and just think about like consciousness being, I mean, it's hard to set aside that point of self, but something material, unconscious, existing after the body dies. There's just nothing, there's nothing like that. Like the body is material, but it's dead. And there's not some other material that leaves the body, or
Mm. Mm.
yeah, I think the simplest way is just to use the doctrine of no self to
Mm.
refute these ideas.
Yeah, that's correct. We can use the same concept to reject this thing because everything is changing. Therefore, it's no self, and therefore it's emptiness, right? So what doesn't matter? Whatever they say, consonant or unconsonant doesn't matter, right? They still violate the same principle. So that makes sense. Um, what about the one who reached the need the thought, right? No thought. Remember the highest one in the formless plan? You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, here, let me show you that. Okay. Okay, this is the oh sorry, oh my goodness, why you run so fast? Oh come on. Okay, here. The heaven of boundless space, right? Heaven of boundless consciousness. This thing they can call in material, and this thing is still some kind of consciousness because they can recognize those things. This thing here, I think it's unconsciousness in material, but they still stuck in this level because they consider this is the self, right, William? They consider this is the self, the notion of self. Therefore, they hold on to it in order to exist. And that kind of exists, it becomes the wrong view, right? Therefore, they are not the one. That means they are not the one to be called enlightened one. So I hope that will help a little bit, I guess. What do you think, William? Does that help?
I think under the understanding the wrong views we went over, I think we're pretty clear, and that state of neither thought nor no thought, and being kind of unconscious in that state is very hard to fathom. How
No, but they are the one holding on to it at the self.
but are yet still unconscious. That's the hard part to fathom, that they can hold on to a sense of self and be unconscious.
Unconscious, but it's very subtle. The self becomes very subtle, and that's why it's very tough for them to detect. If they not hear the Buddha teaching on the mindfulness, then they will not be able to detect this thing. Why the mindfulness is so important to help them to help In the the noble eightfold path, right? Right view, right understanding, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So the mindfulness is so important. Why the mindfulness is so important?
Well, it seems that we're not trying to reach that point of neither thought nor no thought. Like thoughts are not a hindrance, and mindfulness is the way in which thoughts are not a hindrance. If we can see thoughts as impersonal phenomena, it's not ourself, not what we are, not ours, but just as phenomena, then thoughts can come and go and not be a problem.
No, actually, the mindfulness, if you look, I already said you about the four foundation of mindfulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means the body, the feeling, the mind, and the phenomenon of the Dharma, right? Those things is, when we're talking about the mindfulness, that means for the body, all the activity, we have to be very mindfulness. That means at the current moment. Because we do not lean on, when we are at the current moment, it means that we do not lean on the past, neither future. Neither the past, no future, only at the current moment. And then that means they go beyond the self. The self, that means we lean onto it, something, right? We hold it. But this thing here, we don't hold anything. We don't hold the past. We do not hold the future. We only focus at the current moment. Whatever we are in, whatever activity we are in, we always in that moment. This is important. That's how it will help the Buddha's disciple become enlightened.
Yeah, yes, thầy, but more for thầy. But majority of human nature, they don't think that way. They always think the past and the present, and they never have their mind in that moment or present time. Why?
Because we are ignorant. We are ignorant. That's why the Buddha say we are ignorant, right?
Correct. But is there a way that what can they do to help themselves
Learn the Buddha
to live in the present versus the past or the future?
We learn the Buddha teaching. They need to learn the Buddha teaching, and they need to practice the Buddha teaching. Even though we understand the Buddha teaching, but it's still very tough for us to practice. Right? It's not easy. But at least we understand the Buddha teaching. That means we still walk on the right path.
Yeah, more for agree.
And we try to not to go in that way or this way, but we try to walk on whatever the Buddha teaching is. That is the path we need to walk. The people who got a lot of, I think the depression for the kid, right, from the 5th grade all the way to high school. And most of the people who depressed, they are holding on to their past, the feeling about the past event and the thought about the past. And that makes them depressed. They cannot be able to get away from it. Those things become the prison of their own. They stuck in there just like they stuck in the prison. It's very tough for them to get out. If they don't know the Buddha teaching and they don't try to learn it in the way we hope, that means the only thing help them to get away from this, train the mind. to have a different look, different view. When we have the positive view, then the attitude become positive. If we have the negative view, we call the pessimistic view, right? The attitude become pessimistic attitude. But when we have the optimistic view, the attitude become optimistic. When we put the class, we wear the class of pessimistic. Whatever we see, things look very pessimistic. But if we wear the class of optimistic, everything we look is very optimistic. Does it make sense? This is so important. And therefore, the Buddha teaching, we can use this teaching inside the Buddhist psychology and help the depressed people to move away from that by training them the way they train them to change the pessimistic view into the optimistic view. And that's how they can be able to get away to be able to get out of those depression. I give you a very good example. Usually when we live in the environment, even within the family, right? Within the family, we also have a negative affinity, right? And we also have positive affinity, right? That makes sense, right? But if the people who have the pessimistic view, they always, whenever they encounter the negative common affinity, what do you think they're going to do, William?
Well, they may imagine it would vary by the relationship, but in general, I would think, be something along the lines of, this is happening now. This is likely going to continue to happen if I am in relationship with this person. That I'm just going to keep having troubles and problems.
So usually, do you think the people who have the pessimistic, they see their own problem?
No, I think usually they're thinking that it's the external environment. It's the other person's fault.
They always look outward, not inward. They always see other people's mistakes, but they do not see themselves. This is the problem. Okay? But the optimistic here, how do we change the pessimistic view into the positive, into the optimistic view? This is the way we should get. Yes, if we look at everyone, doesn't matter it's a parent, a loved one, or even the enemy. Doesn't matter who they are. But whoever have affinity with us, we call affinity. We don't label them, this is enemy, this is my loved one. No, we do not label that. If once we label it, do you think that the one we label, this is my enemy, this is my my enemy? Do you think the one we label, if this is my enemy, always be my enemy? No. Because sometime in the past, this one right here maybe help us and maybe very kind to us. Because something that maybe we misunderstand, therefore or maybe he or she did something that hurt us, either feeling or physically. Then we label it. And don't you think this person will always like that? No. Maybe let's say that tomorrow, even the near future, they are the one to come us and talk nicely to us and help us. Are we going to label it? This is my enemy? No. We will not. So just the label. So if we look at everyone, just affinity. Affinity, they have the near and far, positive and negative. Near affinity, that means our parent, our husband and wife, our children, our loved one, right? Our sibling. The far affinity, that means the one that we rarely, maybe once in a while we meet them, right? But the near affinity also have positive and negative, right? When we deal with the negative affinity, first thing is we look at them just affinity. We don't look at them individual physical form. We don't look at them as the physical person, but we look at them in terms of affinity. Do you understand this one? This is so important. When you see that, when you be able to see in that way, the whole purpose of practice the Buddhism is to transform the negative affinity into the positive affinity. And positive, we keep it positive. That is the goal of practicing Buddhism. If we be able to do this, this is the true love and kindness and compassion. This is very powerful. Once we be able to do this, that means we always have the optimistic view. And we always have the attitude of the optimistic attitude. And we deal with any kind of encounter that we have. Doesn't matter, negative or positive, we happy, we okay. Yeah, it's okay to get mad, but when we get mad, we let go. We don't hold on to it. And we try to correct ourselves. We don't correct others. And we try the best to transform the negative into positive affinity. That's all we try. And you know what? Our life will become very beautiful. Don't you think? Very beautiful. This is the key of practice the Buddhism. You don't have to become the super meditator, but once we understand this, then you try to use this view to deal with the world. Then things will come beautiful. Okay. All right. I think if we are over, so that makes sense, right? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay. So Tammy, you understand, right, Tammy? I hope.
Yes, I understand. So try to view them just as affinity. Don't see them as form, but just see them as affinity. That way you're not bringing any more negativity towards it.
That's correct. So we see things at the affinity. We don't see things at the physical form. That's important. Yeah, it's very easy to say, but it's very tough to do. That makes the difference between us and the rest of the people. This is the virtual where it comes from. If we want to create virtue and blessing, yesterday the master said that the difference between blessing and the wisdom, right? Blessing is the work that we do from outside. We can use the money, the material, we use our power, the physical power, our effort to do good things, right? Those things called the blessing. Those things, when we pray the blessing, just like you put the money into the bank, and when you use it, you keep withdraw. And what happened? You withdraw overdraft. No more blessing. and we become suffer, right? So the people who do a lot of good deeds without generate the bodhicitta, then they will create the work of the demon work. Okay, this is called the demon work. Even though we do the good deed, but those good deeds equal to the demon work. Because why? The second life, right? The first life we do a lot of good deeds. The second life we enjoy it, and we create a lot of bad karma because they know bodhicitta protect us. But once you have the bodhicitta, that means the loving kindness and compassion. The motivation from that is push us always always think about other people. And you know what? Even though we enjoy the blessing, but we will not harm other people. And this is the virtue right there. And that is the wisdom coming. The wisdom comes from the practice of the Dharma, but also come from the virtue. Okay. All right, I will stop right here. Okay. I hope I don't confuse you, right? William?
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. When we have a chance that I share you the guide to the Bodhisattva path, or the enter the Bodhisattva path. That beautiful teaching, okay? And this will dealing with a lot of this bodhicitta, okay? This is important. And I will, after done with the 62 view, and I will go into that, and we will also learn about when we in that. I think it's I would think it will be good. Okay, all right. And Jimmy, go ahead, Jimmy.
Dạ, mô Phật thầy.
Anh đọc cho.
May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with heart of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in given unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, to joy, may kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because of our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we are a little bit late for that. Okay. You want to do the little bit the mantra? I mean, do the last portion of the mantra. I think the only 10 lines. I think that should be good for you. You okay with that, William? Right?
Yes.